live.
Okay, tweet it. Make sure to retweet, guys.
Tweet it out.
Let's retweet one of your guys' tweets.
Yep.
Alright. Stream live. Are we live right now?
Yes, we are live.
It's finally.
It's up, but no one will see this first part anyway, so it's K. And I got it recording too.
Oh, you got a recording too, man.
Yep, so yeah, I got the VOD, yeah. So I'll have the file for you.
Alright, so shall I wait for a few viewers or just go on? Are you ready?
I believe so.
Go.
Go. Can I have... Okay. So, hello and welcome to the third edition of the Hold the Lane podcast. Here's your host, as always, Alex DrPuppet Weber, and today I am joined by my lovely guests and co-host, Jacob Braille Wolf from the Daily Dot. He works as a reporter sometimes, also a full-time memer every day, every night. And today, of course, I am joined by our favorite lovely guest that likes to shower more than do this podcast with us, Colin Goddamn Lyman.
Okay.
We wait so long for you, man. We wait so long.
Dude, I woke up like 10 minutes before I had to go to work. I didn't have time to do my hair. I wasn't looking like Burger. I was not looking like Burger. So you could shut up.
Okay. Got it.
Love you.
But
Love you.
To the usual guest that we have right here, we have a very special guest. Today we are joined by XTDK sub James Lattman. Lattman, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm alright. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. What about you two co-hosts?
Doing all right. Been busy.
Yeah, same on here. I gotta go to work a little early tomorrow, but it's all good. Good day so far.
All right, that sounds really good. So we're basically good to start off. Maybe today with a bit less memes than the last podcast, but since we're working with Colin, I can't really say this for sure.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. 100% no guarantees. So basically, today the topic will be the challenger scene. So we're going to talk about the Riot challenger scene. We're going to talk about new leagues coming up and also about our wishes and, of course, other games. So to start off, we're going to ask our lovely guest, you played in the challenger scene before. What do you think about the Riot challenger system?
I think it's pretty bad right now. I mean, it's not like cluelessly bad where they just went in and completely butchered everything, because it was already bad before. And they made a lot of steps to try to complement the kind of moves that they're trying to implement into the actual LCS's structure. Basically directed toward longevity of the scene. Like when the scene's more developed, the moves that they instituted would be much more impactful, I think. But in the current state of the competitive scene in North America, at least, I'm not entirely sure if this holds as true in Europe. It's a lot of the moves that they made severely stunt the growth of the scene.
So basically, what shall happen from now? What do you think can be done better for this? Like, what's the thing that you don't like about this challenger system?
I mean, there is so much that needs to be done, but if I had to like just single out one initial thing, I'd say probably the amount of teams that are allowed to participate. Because right now, if I'm not mistaken, a total of 8 teams get to play in the Challenger Series each season. That is, you've got your first 6 teams in the initial split, and then 2 teams get to enter in the next split. So you only have a rotation of 8 teams as your regional talent, and of those 8 teams, like it's very unlikely that a majority of the players in those 8 teams will be talent inside of your region. So it just isn't fostering growth, like inter-regional growth.
So what do you think about that, Mr. Jacob? Is this a problem that it's not providing enough resources for growth for the challenger scene?
I'd say it's more of a problem here in NA than it is in EU. But I think
Are
that's
you
because
sure?
I don't know. I think think in terms of talent, the circulation is better in EU than it is here.
That's true. That's true.
You often see a lot of new players that haven't had LCS fame or aren't imports play in the EU Challenger Series, where as in North America, you have so many imports already. People that come to mind, Corey, Ku, Veritas, Massacre, I guess would account, Steelback, Pinoy. There's a lot of people that, a lot of the Coast team is imports, like the people they have in the house, like Wizardry or whatever his name is, the guy that played with them last year and then came back. And yeah, like I think that's more of an NA problem because NA has a lot of money and they think that there is a big gap between low tier Koreans, like in the low tier of the top tier, and actual regional talent. But I don't think that's something really Riot can control. But I think because Challenger Series has a lot more way than it used to, especially with auto relegation, that is a pretty big problem. Is the small circulation of like up and coming talent.
So, Colin, what do you think? Is it a bigger problem that we have tournament system for the Challenger Series that doesn't provide enough growth, or is it the lack of talent that's really hindering the Challenger scene to go to the next step?
Well, when it comes to the idea of talent, a lot of the discussion focuses on natural talent. I feel like people, whenever we bring up the word talent, it's never in the case of like developing a skill. It's like, oh, the guy's just good at it, you know. I think if we like talk about the biggest outlier case, we would think of Faker as someone who's incredibly talented, like the most talented player. Like he was just that good. There's no real reason. He's just that good at it. But I would say the problem is more focusing on developing and providing a stable enough structure so that a person get in the practice hours. Because when we talk about the challenger scene, we're not talking about like a very quick circuit where there's money to be made out of it. You play the Challenger Series, you get 2 shots a year. You do a couple, I don't know the structure of it too well. Imagine a regular season and then like a circuit tournament system of a best of series. And then the winning team goes into the LCS, like they automatically get into it. The runner-up teams then play with the LCS teams or in relegation. So you have to do a lot of like these games in order to get into a state where you can finally have a financial support coming in for your team. But before then, you're left to the wolves, really, because you're not playing a quick tournament. It's not like this tournament taking place over 3 days for $10,000, $20,000. It's not like that. You get this 2 opportunities a year to get into the LCS scene, and if that doesn't work, then you go through this enormous drought following the summer season because you have Worlds, and you have to wait until spring comes up. So when you don't have that environment where you can go win money, where you can go get sponsorships easily, it's harder to secure resources that your team needs. Things like a gaming house with a good internet, things like equipment, because up until that point, you're playing basically from whatever system and resources that your players have, unless you can like somehow acquire a sponsorship by building up a brand, which is also difficult.
So, what do you think about changing the system to make it more profitable to get sponsors?
Well, I think that in order to do that, you almost have to branch out into more tournaments than the LCS, or somehow develop a more diverse amateur scene. The only problem with that, which I think we discussed in the previous episode, is that Riot's policies don't support that. They are very much controlling of what events host League of Legends. We've talked about how like they'll demand like if you play our game you can't play these games. We want you to exclude these guys because we want you to host just only League of Legends, and some events won't do that. And then furthermore, because any other access to international competition is strictly through Riot's own league, you have to go through them in order to branch out fully. And that's where all the sponsorship's going to be. That's where all of the money is going to be because it's going to be built up through there. So unless Riot changes their system and says, okay, we're going to give up exclusivity, we're going to allow bigger challenge like amateur scenes to develop, or if someone comes along with enough money just to build their own amateur scenes and then teams just start going to that one and hosting and effectively compete with Riot's own system, I don't think we'll see that shift, but that's what it would take in my opinion.
So basically we should try to make our own league. Like let's say we do our own thing right now. So
with blackjack
before
and hookers?
yeah. So before we continue this, if you viewers are watching this right now and want to discuss with us, use the hashtag HTLP and send us questions in your thoughts on the topic. We will be taking them into the podcast as well. So feel free to tweet at us at hashtag HTLP. So basically, you mentioned right now that we should try to do a certain league thing, right? So we had a few of these leagues before. I don't know if you guys know or if you guys notice or watch it. Actually, there was the Alpha Draft League. There was the League 1 tournaments by Wasabi Productions. There were maybe a few more that I don't remember right now the names correctly. But when I think about these two tournaments itself, they were actually great. Like, I think the Alpha Draft production was great. I think the League 1 production was great. And James, you played Alpha Draft as a player. What did you think about the tournament?
I thought the tournament was all fine up until the grand finals for North America's side. When we played Misfits, the grand finals ended up going late into night, into around, I think it was like 11, 12 p.m. PST. And we had two players on a central time, so they're 2 hours ahead. So it was going into like 2 a.m. in the morning for them to be playing a best of 5 grand finals in a tournament. Like, besides that, the rest of the tournament's great, but that's like very blatantly a red flag. Like, you don't have tournaments go that late into the night for a finals match. So, yeah.
You also don't cut budget at the very end either. I mean,
oh yeah, that happened too. Yeah.
Well, what happened exactly there, Jacob?
Essentially, a bunch of the teams were dropping out, so they took and cut the budget and said they were going to put it in an invitational. The invitational never happened.
So. Yeah.
So basically, they cut off money when they shouldn't. Great.
Well, it wasn't so much that when they shouldn't. Like, look, if you look back on what happened, a bunch of teams that were supposed to be getting them more like generating more income for their betting site all disbanded and left the league because they were just losing. Like, that's
a whole other problem. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other problem to the challenger scene
that they could do anything about.
Okay. Before we go into the most and known issue of the challenger scene, I would like to talk actually talk about the other tournament as well. The League 1 tournament. Did you guys have any experience with that?
I remember I had an experience with trying to watch it, but I couldn't. So that's like my only experience with it.
My only complaint was ding it, the website, not the actual tournament.
Okay. Like I played with my NA team, our gaming, and my actual EU team with their tournaments. So it was actually great production. I think even though Ding It might not be the most favorite website to watch a stream nowadays, but whatever, it was a great tournament. It was actually pretty well scheduled, and the money came in time normally. But as I probably showed you a few minutes ago, Zach, the owner of League 1, just announced that League 1 is not being funded anymore by Ding It, which can mean a good thing, but can also mean a bad thing. So what's your take on that, Colin?
I don't have much information on it because I don't really keep up with these things, so I have no opinion.
You weren't here.
Yeah, I wasn't here. I can tell you loads about how silly a Baconator fry really is, but that's about it right now. Shoutouts to Wendy's. Keep me employed, boss. If you see this, Jacob, take the wheel.
Save this guy.
I'm not really like League One was good, but I feel like League One's timing was the best part about it. Is because League One went on right before a lot of these teams were gonna play in the Challenger qualifier, and so or the previous League One. So I feel like that was the best part about it, is that they were basically using it as practice time for more teams. But besides that, like I don't know. Like the Challenger scene's just kind of all over the place because is the funding really worth it? Is the question that everyone asks. So.
Yeah, but I mean, let's go over the scenario, right? They had the funding by Dingit, so that's why they run the tournaments on Dingit. And like, if you didn't know the site, Dingit was a site where you needed to download an add-on for your browser to be able to watch, right? So first, you lost at least half of your viewership right there because they don't want to download something for the browser if they don't need it, right? So this is one problem. So unknown site, but actually, do the people want to see the newer teams, like the known names, the new upcoming talents, see them play? What do you think about that, Draco?
I don't know. It really depends who it is. If it's someone like Cloud9 Tempest, then yeah, like everybody's gonna tune in. But like some of the smaller teams, people just like the pool isn't there because they don't know the players, which is a whole big like issue with viewership in Challenger Series amateur tournaments.
So basically, we will need to find a viewership for that, right?
Yes.
How do we do this? Any ideas?
Finding viewership for the Challenger Series.
Yep.
You get the teams with the players that actually draw interest to the Challenger Series in your tournament. So, Misfits.
No.
Cloud9 Tempest.
No, just Misfits. Not even Cloud9 Tempest, man. Like, Cloud9 Tempest is like a quarter of what kind of following Misfits could potentially bring in.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big deal too is a lot of these players that are on these teams don't have brands, and like that's something that's a problem in League of Legends most of the time anyway. Is player's not like a brand specialist. They don't know how to make their social media look nice. They're a freaking, no offense, James, they're a guy that like sits there and plays League because that's their job. Like they aren't sitting here trying to make their Twitter like blow up, but the people that do and like pull draw on Facebook and Twitter are the people that get views. And a lot of people, like some solo queue players that play in these tournaments on these teams don't even have Twitters. So I think that's one step, but you can't really rely on a player to do that because a lot of them are not like the majority of them have never learned anything about branding. So you're kind of stuck in a shithole in that point.
So basically, you will need to first make a name for yourself as a brand to create such a tournament to maybe get the viewership needed. All right, that's fair. So now I already talked about the statement that it's not being funded at the moment. So we have one less reliable tournament as a challenger team to play it, where we can actually play for a prize pool of a decent amount of money. Which is another problem because other alternatives that we have are go for laws. I like that we will win if we actually win the tournament some Riot points, which I think mostly the high.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Like, what is your take, James? That League One is not being funded at the moment, so we have basically one tournament less for the challenger teams.
I mean, I think it's just like the dying breaths of tournaments outside of Riot, like making an attempt to actually work. Like, you look at not Misfits, Alpha Draft and League One, and like they both made a pretty good attempt at like trying to add some depth to the Challenger series, but both of them failed. Like neither of them were sustainable, and that's really unfortunate to say, like, but it's just the truth. Like, Riot isn't, like, fostering the scene. Riot is not allowing other people who are looking to get into this scene and create more opportunities for these teams to play, like it's just not happening. And like I guess if you're gonna ask now, what do we have to do to like let that happen? Like I'd say return to the format that things were in like season 1 and early season 2, where you just play at events or Riot sponsored, or not Riot sponsored, but Riot advocated tournaments. Like if Riot started sponsoring Alpha Draft or something, that could also be added to the whole circuit, and you gain circuit points throughout the season based on what themes your team plays in and wins, because that'll promote longevity and stability in the scene. Like teams will want to stay together for the entire season rather than just play for one split, like three months, and then split, and then join another team in the next 3 months, etc. And then if Riot actually started creating a system like that, and the teams with the highest circuit points would play at a playoffs at the end of the season, or just the team with the most amount of circuit points just automatically promotes, like that do like wonders compared to the system that's in work right now.
Sounds
like
like
the system
a
right now
really
just
good...
doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea, right?
It seems like a great idea. I hope some
Yeah,
Riot
it's fucking
employees are watching right now. Oh wait, where's like Alan when we need him? And
Yeah, I tried
but-
bringing it up to Nick Allen actually, but I just got ignored. So
oh Nick,
yeah, I mean,
please.
to be fair, it was like a few weeks before he resigned, so he probably like just blew it over. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, I think that's actually a great idea, because it mentions another point that we that I avoided talking about before, because one of the biggest problems in the challenger scene is that teams doesn't last longer than maybe 1 to 3 months. If you have luck, a bit longer. But normally they disband all after the qualifiers. And James, I interviewed you a few days ago, and how was your experience with the actual challenger ladder?
Pretty shit. I mean, I've been playing as a competitive player for about a year and a half now. In that span, I've been on like 7 to 8 teams. Like,
Jeez.
it's just ridiculous. Yeah, like, and it's most of it's like my fault as a player too, because a big problem with challenger players and like the like just players jumping from team to team is that when players initially get into this scene, there's a sense of urgency because there's no stability in the scene, and you're either likely finishing high school and about to go into college, in which you're about to have to fight your parents to be able to keep playing this game if you want to go competitive, or you're either taking a break off of college, like you just graduated high school and you're in this limbo where if you don't succeed in esports, you're just wasting time, or you're in college and everything's just stressful as fuck for you. So in any of these 3 scenarios, you feel pressured to get on whatever team that you think you have the best chance of shining as an individual from split to split. Like, a lot of the players in the Challenger series that haven't been in the scene for at least a year, this is their mindset, where they're only looking to make themselves look good because that's how the scene is right now. That's how you're going to get out of the scene. So
Yeah.
while everyone in the scene has this mindset, it's impossible for, even if like a few players start to realize like, hey, maybe it's not just about like getting on a team ASAP and trying to look good. Like maybe I can just sit back and wait, look for like-minded individuals, make a team of 5 with them, and stay together for a year and hopefully win like that. Like no one has that mindset right now, even though I feel it's the correct mindset to qualify for LCS. So yeah, that's just how it's been like throughout my challenger scene experiences. I just get team after team with players who's like, as soon as we lose once, everyone just dips, and it's really really frustrating.
It's flaky, man.
It's so
It's
much
really
more
flaky.
It's so much more. Like, these people just, it's really hard to deal with, but whatever. That's the scene for you.
What's your take on this, Jacob?
I mean, he's right. But the thing is, there's so many, like he said, so many of these players, like, they have to be rushed, but they shouldn't be, almost. Just because of the, like, it's usually the financial situation with a lot of these players is, and like you've heard the infamous story of Double Lift. He like wanted to play video games professionally, and his parents kicked him out of the house.
Oh yeah.
He like had to go live with Travis. Like, and a lot of these players just don't understand. Like they don't have the financial situation where like their parents are gonna support them to become a pro gamer. Like that doesn't happen. And Yeah, it's honestly just a mess, and there's not really a good way to fix it unless you're a fucking solo queue god and you somehow get a chance with an LCS team. That's like it.
Yeah, that's
So,
basically it. So we can transfer over to the next topic and why we need to invest more in the challenger scene. And the first question would be, why do we need a better system in the challenger scene in the first place? And James actually already provided us with a very, very interesting circuit point system. And Colin, we didn't hear you for a while now. Are you
Just
ready
listening.
with them dank memes, or do you want
The
to
tank
share
memes.
your
You think I've just been
or
scheming?
your honest opinion on the situation right now? Why do we need a better system?
Well, if you look at how the scene at the LCS level is developing with the increase in imports from Asian regions, I think that really says it all. People will talk about a lack of local talent, or they'll talk about, oh, there's no one good in the scene. There's no one that is being developed within the scene. There's no one who's, if you look at the Challenger series, I just based on the discussion that we're having here, and as well as some of the information that Lattman gives, no one has like been played on a consistent team 8 hours a day for weeks or months, if even that. They probably
Says
get
teammate.
right. So when you have that situation, you're having players who aren't developing team skills as far as communication goes. They're not developing lane synergy or like player synergy within a team and getting that to extend at a point where it's acceptable and competitive at a professional level. You're not having any of that develop because there's no way of supporting it. People either have to, like James had mentioned, delay going to college in between like this limbo point where
Yeah.
they're going from high school or college, or for most people, if you look at some of the professional interviewers, the one example that comes to my mind is Crumbs, who's right now in the challenger scene. He was going to school and playing League, and he was thinking, okay, do I go back to university? Do I play League? And then when things went well for him, he kept on playing League. He just, in a way, happened to luck into it. It's not as simple as that if you look at his career, for sure, but that's like the debate that almost every single Challenger Series player has. And as long as that exists, and where they can't not legitimately say, hey, I can go play video games, try and go pro, maybe, and be paid, like minimum wage, something close to that amount, and probably above that in all honesty. If I can't make a living off of practicing video games so I can try and become a real professional and compete at a higher level, you're not going to have any local talent. And as far as that goes, then you're going to teams within the LCS, organizations within the LCS, they're going to be forced to look elsewhere to regions that do offer that support. Regions like China, regions like Korea, who do an excellent job with supporting amateur scene. I mean, if you consider Korea, it lost so much of its upper level talent at the end of season 4 with the diaspora, if you will, of players to China for the big
The
salaries.
Korean exodus.
Yeah, the Korean exodus.
the
That's the
Exodus.
exodus. Yeah, that's how we officially call it. But within that, I mean, we already had some like really dominating looking teams. Like the Goo Tigers came out of nowhere for the first part of Spring Split. Admittedly, they fell off, but teams within Korea looked really good. Live up and coming talent. Fury looks really good. I'm thinking of the Samsung organization right now.
Yeah, I will want to say this point. Like, if you compare their extremely good performances in the summer split compared to their spring split performance, you actually see wonders of a better performance.
Yeah. It's
But
true.
competition is much higher in a lot of those regions, though, Korea especially.
Yeah, as well.
So-
Namely because like the attitude toward the amateur scene is way different. I mean, people talk about all the time Korean solo queue is less trolly than like NA. They take it a lot more seriously at the higher levels. There's a healthier scene to do it, and with the gaming culture in Korea, as much as it is somewhat of a taboo, there is still some money in there. There is still like you could take that
A
time.
lot more.
You could take that time to go practice those video games and try and become a professional for a team. Not to mention that there are several sponsors within there that have a good reputation behind them. I mean, the fact that I can say
SKT,
that
Samsung.
Samsung, yeah, like those are like huge companies sponsoring teams over there. We don't have anything like that with America. Almost every team has like been like some kind of video game built brand. Like, hey, we're a gaming organization. It's not like this is a telephone company's, or this is like a manufacturing company's League of Legends team. We don't have that within the USA.
Well, there's so many like vested interest like conflicts as well that come up. Like Martin Shkreli had to rename his name from Turing because it's a drug company. Like, Riot wasn't going to allow him to play that tournament under the name Turing. So he had to rename to Odyssey.
Okay, hold on, your
And
microphone's
there's
actually
also...
being really bad. Hold on. It's a little garbly.
fuck.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's me or
Shall
what.
someone recall?
Oh,
I think it's me. It's just me.
yeah, it's better now. Go on.
Anyway, so yeah, like there's so many conflicts of interest. Like even when Curse was Curse, like it wasn't actually Curse. It was a completely different LLC owned by Aaronset, and like Curse didn't fund it. They just put money, like they put money in as a sponsor for a title sponsorship. Like they weren't the actual organization. So, I don't know. It's a mess, but like there's a lot of advertisement, but it's very restricted here. So
Like, I think one point that Lee Geeson's mentioning right now in the Twitch chat is that everyone wants to join LCK sub-squads, not actual challenger teams. And if you saw a few features from Riot lately on the Korean imports of NA and U, and a lot of them did tryouts for SKT or other teams in the region, but not actual challenger teams. Like Rainover was actually in the SKT1 tryouts for the jungler position before he joined Fnatic. So what's your take on this? Do we need some kind of substitute teams for from our bigger organizations to maybe provide a better talent, or actually develop them in a better way? Or do you think Koreans doing a lot of this wrong, Lattman?
Sorry, I was responding to someone on the chat.
And I was actually
I
ready to
missed
go in on
that
that. I was ready to go in on that question too. Okay. Here.
So you should hand it over to either Colin.
just stick
Yeah,
with Colin.
I was
Just
gonna
stick with
say
Colin.
Colin.
Yeah.
Either hand it over to him or repeat the question.
Yeah. Now here, I'll repeat it just for the audience's sake. The idea is, should the teams that are established LCS teams look to be building side teams that can compete in the Challenger Series? That way you have solved the problem of like, okay, there's not this issue of trying to build up a new sponsorship or get new people in. You have this team which already gets some income from, Riot in the LCS to host a side team which can compete in the Challenger Series. And is that a good idea? Something similar to what Korea does with their side teams in the amateur scene. I think that it's a good idea, but Riot's system doesn't necessarily support it. Because first off, when they came on in with Kespa, they got rid of the ability for sister teams to compete in the same league. Like again, at Season 4 Worlds, we had Samsung Blue and Samsung White, two teams who faced off in the semifinals actually, and people could question like, oh, but then they could choose how it goes or whatever. So there's an issue of competitive integrity, or at least a perceived issue when it comes to that. But because of that rule, we get into a situation where if that sister team that's hosted does very well and does get out of Challenger Series, then you have to immediately sell that team off to someone else because Riot doesn't like sister teams within it. We saw that happen when Curse Academy got in the off season. They had to branch off, and then Curse became Liquid, and Curse Academy became Gravity. So while it is a nice idea, I think that because of how the system currently does remote side teams or support two sister teams within the same league competing, that there isn't going to be so much of an emphasis coming from the organization in terms of funding, in terms of support for those side teams. Because if you invest in those teams and they do well and they get into the league, then you have to just get rid of those players. You have to sell them off, as the system is now.
Well, I don't think that's really the worst part of it, though, because that still makes it a business. That still makes it a way of building your income for yourself. What I feel is the inherent issue, and this is something that I heard of people or LCS team owners talking about while I was at the Riot Player Summit, is teams right now are struggling with issues like providing proper healthcare for their players and etc. Like things that actually really take a lot of money for orgs to start doing and building from the ground up, basically. And as long as Riot isn't supporting these LCS teams to be really solidifying the kind of infrastructure they have for their starter teams, it's really unlikely that teams will be able to actually start going all out in providing optimal conditions for either getting challenger teams or for their current challenger teams. And as long as like stuck up trying to, or not stuck up, as long as they're caught up in trying to finalize like getting things situated for their pro teams, there's like not really a chance that they're gonna even consider going hard and investing on a challenger team. But I also do feel at the same time, as soon as they are able to, they probably will. Like that's the reason why most teams have already started to or have made attempts to. Like they saw what
Cloud9
did,
Tempest.
like, oh cool.
Aren't CG Black, TSM Darkness, and Cloud9 Tempest the best examples that they can have a name for themselves also in the challenger scenes? And
I think the best example is Team Liquid Academy. They aren't even in the Challenger Series, but they have their own fucking house. They live in the same apartment complex that Team Liquid live in. Like all those players live right next door to the pro team, and they aren't in the series. Like they're probably just gonna play Alpha Draft. Like, yeah.
do they even have a full roster at the moment since they gave?
They're only missing an AD carry.
So Lattman, your chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a good example of like an exception to the rule. Like they're an actual pro team that, I mean, Liquid's always been like that though. Like he's always been really keen on fostering players within like his own means instead of just trying to get what's the best option is for him, see if it works out. Doesn't work out, all right, let's see what the next best option is. Like he's not that kind of guy.
But shouldn't
And
He's
people?
been really keen.
Yeah, I thought the same, Jacob. But shouldn't people like take more like of an example about this, because I think it's great. Like they not only provide housing for their team, but also analysts, coaches, and in general staff members live right there. I mean, Jacob and maybe you too, Colin, might remember the guy called TK from the Gold Per 10 writing crew, and he's an analyst for Team Liquid, and he's living there with them, which is actually great because he not only works with motivate people as he is, but also he's living in the esports dream, literally. And shouldn't people not try to promote this more, or is there anything else that you think it's a better idea than the Team Liquid's running at their houses at the moment?
I mean, the only team in Challenger Series right now that doesn't have the team house is the one that's a sister team. So that'd be C9 Tempest. Like everybody else has houses. Vortex and Coast share one. Imagine just got one last week, and Winter Fox just had one. And then, am I missing anyone? Misfits has one. So, like, I don't know. I think the infrastructure could be better, but it's a really risky investment is the problem, because Challenger scene is so flaky and these players are so flaky. If you're putting in several tens of thousands of dollars, like, not to be insulting, but Team Fusion spent well over $1 million during their trying to get into LCS, and they still failed both times. So I mean, and then at the end of the day, all those players didn't want to play anymore, and they all broke up. So, and the organization didn't want to continue funding the team. So not only did the organization lose a lot of money, those players wasted a lot of their time. So yeah, especially considering Nian had an LCS offer after expansion. So.
I mean, that's playing the situation for itself. So, I mean, is there anything to talk about the Korean or Chinese infrastructure that we didn't mention until this point?
It's just because competition's better, competition's higher, and people want to compete more. That's the reason Korea's sister teams are better, like funded, and China's. So.
All right, so I think we can move to the next topic and compare this maybe to other games. Like, I mean, League of Legends, of course, not the only esport right here. And I think the most reliable source of competition in an amateur scene working into a pro scene would be the CSGO scene. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Mr. Jacob? You are our expert for Counter-Strike, Global Offensive right here. What's your take?
CSGO amateur is not fantastic. It's okay. Enemy has a team in there right now. They just picked up Tempo GG, which is a team. But low tier CSGO, like for pro level, is fairly great because those teams are, because CSGO is so competitive at a high level internationally all the time. where like every other month you have an event that is both EU and NA teams and Asian teams that are coming in, like Chinese
Oh
teams
yeah, the
and
Chinese team.
Renegades who are an Australian team and everything. That is that's a high level of competition. So basically, just having someone in the pro league is almost like being amateur. Like unless you're top three, like a Cloud9 or a CLG or a Luminosity for NA, or like a Fnatic TSM, Virtus Pro, MV. Flip side, trying to think if there's anyone else in there that really sticks out. So a lot of your lower level pro teams like 3Sub, formerly Affinity, and Method, and Ace Gaming, and Mousepads, like these players are getting really good experiences before they even have time to, or like before they have time, and they're getting funded too. They're getting funded at playing at a almost amateur level and are not, yeah, like they're not having to take on big dogs, and they're learning, which is a big key there. They're learning how to play against better teams, so that when they hit their peak, they're good and can play against bigger teams. So,
Wouldn't this be like like you mentioned on the podcast before, right? There is a system in the IZEA client or Civo client, Faceit client, that they have multiple lower leagues tournaments that goes towards the bigger leagues, right? Until the pro league. And you mentioned that Enemy picked up an amateur team. Would this system be good for every esport right here? What is your take on this, James?
Sorry, I zoned out again. What was the question?
Why I have him as a
Okay.
guest? He's doing his stuff. Like, can we get another guest real quick?
No.
If you want to be a guest right now.
Wow,
I'm
you're,
reading
you're
the
a short
chat, man.
You're a short temper.
I'm participating in the stream.
Oh,
There we go.
okay. Guys, tell me if he's doing a good job. If not, I need a new guest right now.
Just right now. Can you turn that on you first? Are you doing a
You
good
have the
job
right
hosting?
now to vote kick James. No,
Vote
you
kick
don't.
James.
What was the question?
Oh my god.
Come on, come on.
Come on.
comparing CS:GO's like pro scene and
I have no idea.
And-
I don't follow CS:GO pro scene at all. Like I can't answer it
He's,
at all.
he's,
I-
he's trying to play. He's trying to
literally-
play League, guys. Come on. He doesn't have time
Yeah.
for. He doesn't have time for other games. League is live. League is
he's right clicking on Vayne as we speak.
Like the
I'm
only,
watching
the only,
him playing as he's
or
doing
not the
this.
only. I don't follow the CS:GO competitive scene at all. Like I watch the finals of like a tournament here and there, but I don't follow it, so I can't really answer.
All right, so I'm gonna rephrase the question because in CS:GO there are multiple clients like Civo, Zia, and Faceit that provides amateur level tournaments that runs to the next tier level, and until they reach the point that they play on the pro level. Wouldn't this be a good system for every esports title right there? For
Yeah,
a
it's similar
chance?
to a circuit point system. That should be like
Yeah,
if,
so,
if
like-
esports can get to the point where there's something to play in at least every month and a half, then it's a great system. Like it's
Well, there's
ideal.
always continuous stuff too between because there's 3 different leagues, right? And they all run their same thing. But at the end of the day, like you have your majors that are run by people like ESL, and then you have your like bigger premier tournaments like ESWC that just went on with Navi and Cloud9 in the finals. And so like there's qualification for those, but there's continually a league between 3 different clients that run them that are
I
all
see.
big. So there's like
basically
3
just
different
constant
leagues.
play.
Yeah, they're constant play. They keep the teams practice together, and then the teams, like the bigger teams like Cloud9 and like CLG and everything, like warm up for these like big qualifiers. So like at the end of the month, there's a qualifier for ESL1 Cologne, which is like one of the big majors of the year. So it'd be like your finals, or it's not really a Worlds because that would be like Katowice, but it's like it's almost like an All Stars / MSI. So it's like you have this really big tournament like every couple of months. Then like you train up by playing continuously. So you play continuously with a set of like 10 or 12 teams, and then you like go into a qualification tournament for these big ones. So
Yeah, that's
Hey.
it's a no-brainer then. That system would seems like it'd be pretty great in most games, if not all. I mean, I guess the only game I don't think it would be great is like console fighting games because it
Yeah.
screw with your fingers entirely. But I mean, like other games like that, it should be good.
I mean, even if you count the multiple championships that you have for fighting games, and you have a lot of smaller things, local things, and also the big majors. So
Yeah, like Smash is a perfect example of that because you have regional Smash tournaments like literally every week, and then you have like your players that show up to these and just play, and then you have like your big ones like Evo and CEO and Apex that they like have to qualify for.
yeah, and
So
I mean, like this game's only run online, but a thing like StarCraft 2, Counter-Strike, Hearthstone, League of Legends could run this easily, like the system of CEVO, Faceit, and of course Zia. But why doesn't it work for League of Legends? Is it only because
Because
of Riot, or
it is because of Riot because they don't want like look at what they did to ESL and MLG because ESL and MLG back in season 1 and 2 like they consistently and then they tried to do it in season 3 with amateur teams, which is like where Dom played after he got banned, and it just didn't work. But like when Riot kind of put the foot down and made LCS, but there was continuous like almost circuit points slash like continuous tournaments that like went on ongoing all the time for League before Riot like kind of put their foot down and made LCS. So it was working. It's just it doesn't work anymore because they don't want to or like the whole thing with Riot is they don't want people to if you run a League tournament, you can't run a Dota tournament. And that's the problem with everyone. That's why ESL 1 is Dota and not IEM. Because IEM used to be Dota. So like IEM is League of Legends specific now. So it's its own brand. They have to make something else. So it's like so I don't know. Like if Riot wouldn't I like that Riot is invested in for like LCS, but at the same time it's kind of a detriment. So
yeah, I mean, what can we do there? I don't know what we could do. So Riot maybe rethinks their decision or maybe loosens it a bit so we can have that CEVO-like tournament system or ISEA tournament system that we can provide to the Pro League, and then have something like James mentioned before, like with the circuit points, and this would make the whole challenger scene a lot more easier.
The trade-off is you're trading off how much play these players get continuously for a big brand. That's the thing with Riot. Not every other game has one big giant that like sticks their hand down from the sky and like, look what we have. Look what you can watch on Twitch. Like, look what the fuck we can show you. Like, no other game has that. So that's your trade-off. You got one like megalomaniac like company that's like fucking bossing shit in the marketing department, but at the same time your players aren't getting to play nearly as often. And then you have like a 4-month off season after Worlds, where like, or even after like finals and relegations, where teams just sit on their ass and do nothing, like go home and they don't play. They just solo queue. So it's like, I don't know. I think there needs to be more competition in League, but it's not going to happen until Riot lets up and stops like forcing people to force out Dota, because Dota is a very niche kind of thing and people still like really enjoy it. So
yeah, so from there all you can really do is just raise awareness about it, get enough people to complain to Riot about it, and close your eyes and hope they change something. There's not much else we can do.
I mean, even NA and you can love each other. Why shouldn't Dota and League of Legends love each other?
What, NA and you love each other? Get out. There he goes. There he goes. We got him. This is NA now, baby. Yeah, no. Not in Twitch chat. Not in Twitch chat.
You haven't been bringing the memes today.
No.
Is it because we are actually talking about something really serious?
it would just be nice to
Dank serious.
see more regular competition, because that doesn't happen. So
Yeah. I know.
like the circuit point thing would work properly, but also the way CSGO does things, where there's a bunch of different leagues with a bunch of different participants, and then
There's
like
final qualifiers for everyone.
Yeah, and then like 3 or 4 months, like every 3 or 4 months, you like get your shit together and practice for this giant ass tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's either way would work, but the problem is getting Riot to let that way work and actually put that into effect. So
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
James said, it's either complain enough and hope they change their mind, or maybe the real choice is like we need to put on the facade, we need to embrace the Riot's way, we need to get into the corporation, move our way up, and then once we have the opportunity, we pull the trigger, boys. We do a corporate takeover. You know, we do like our own little military coup within there. We just seize the office from Tryndamere himself and be like, all right, bring in Ambassador Thorin. He is going to be our governor of the competitive league or some shit like that. But no, it's hard to change. This is one thing why Riot takes this way. It's very hard for outsiders to change the league, and then so because they have such a monopoly over it, they get to take, you know, everything goes to them, really. Not all the profit per se, but it's like they fund teams who play within their league, which, you know, it goes very circular. I think it's rough, and it does stifle a lot of the competition. If you want an answer as to why a North American team is probably not ever going to win Worlds so long as the Chinese and Korean infrastructures exist the way they are in the NA structure, you can blame Riot's monopoly because it doesn't give the players enough time or practice to really get into a condition where they can compete with talent that does take that time and effort.
I want to mention right here the system in China, actually, because you have a regular LPL and LSPL season, but you also have something like something like the Masha Cup, and that's basically they stopped their tournaments to do this the Masha Cup, where every team in China basically participates there, and isn't it a fun tournament to watch? And I mean, they get enough money for that. Wouldn't be this something that Riot could implement, or maybe try to do more often? I mean, challenger teams also want to get into tournaments.
I mean, your arguments are like your dream hacks and your IEMs, but DreamHack doesn't even really matter for League anymore. Like, it's strictly like EU and it's like Turkish teams and stuff. Like, DreamHack doesn't really matter anymore for League, but your IEMs only feature like your top 3 teams for each region usually, or your top like 2 teams for each region. So it's like you're still not fixing the competition problem even by having a third party come in. So,
so I want to take on Revolution's messages here in the Twitch chat. He said first, I think there needs to be a mix between LCS and the CSGO tournament systems. CSGO players get burned out because there are tournaments almost every weekend that require them to travel far too often. Would this be a problem? Yeah. But I think we've done that in the past as well. Like, I mean, if you look back into Season 1 and Season 2, we had the same kind of tournament system. Maybe not as often as they are having now the tournaments in CSGO, but actually we have very, very similar system that we need to qualifier via online qualifier, go to the tournament on maybe whatever region, and then come back for the next tournament. Gentlemen, what's your take on this? Do you agree with me?
Well,
that since we've done that in the past, we can do it as well?
Well, my first thoughts actually flashed to real sports. I guess that's how I'll phrase it. You know, as opposed to the esports that we love talking about. Yeah, traditional. I like that word better. Traditional. I mean, you got players who not only strain their bodies physically more than a professional player ever will, in terms of like the entire body. Okay, you know, they train themselves physically, and then when a season of NBA, when a season of NFL goes, I mean, those guys are traveling like every week to go to a different state. I think if the traveling is within a country, I think the issue of burning out is less likely. But if an athlete whose whole job is to use his entire body in competition play, and he can put up with traveling with all that, and he doesn't, you know, deal with things like, oh, you know what, I'm really burned out from, you know, riding on the plane on the way over here. You know, if they can deal with it, I'm pretty sure that a computer gaming professional player who isn't putting his entire body through nearly as much stress can handle that as well, so long as the travel is localized. I mean, if we're talking like, okay, boys, after this tournament in China's done, we got to fly over to Russia, Germany. And then 2 hours after that, we're on a flight to California. We're going over the Pacific for that. Yeah, if it gets that extreme,
that's basically. But that's basically how CS:GO is working right now, though, because your summer lands are like Yeah, because right now you just had the finals for the league, for the ESA league in Cologne. You had your players,
Yeah.
your top teams, hop their ass over, go back to Montreal, and now where are they going? They're going to be boot camping in France, I think, before Cologne. So it's like, Jesus Christ, these people are like traveling. And then you have your teams like Renegades who are fucking from Australia, and then hop on a plane and like go over to fucking Montreal, then have to go somewhere else for a qualifier. Like, it is a mess in CS:GO, but
Yeah, maybe some.
I don't know.
perhaps more
It's
streamlining.
it's very hard. It's very hard for your like Asian regions, especially, which is why you don't see very many of them enter into competition. But yeah,
Something that I would like to mention, even teams like Fnatic didn't participate on the ESWC in Montreal because of certain reasons, I guess. And that's actually very common that certain teams like that ditch on tournaments so they can prepare better for the next ones. And didn't we do this in the past for League of Legends as well, or did we only go for every tournament like certain teams are doing right now in CS:GO?
it happened a little bit in like season 2 and early season 3. I think the best way the league could have been is how the amateur scene tried to be in season 3.
Is he just
before
cutting off, or
challenges.
is that me?
What?
Wait, can anyone? Wait.
I was
Never
hearing
mind, I
Jacob.
think I'm
Okay,
lagging.
I was hearing Jake. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
me.
if I have an if I have an issue, I speak up. So, and I'm the one hosting it. So. Spoilers.
I think ideally it would be best to see it be like season 3 amateur, what like MLG and the other tournament organizers tried to do, where it was all like localized, but that never really got popular. And then Riot put in challengers. Like it wasn't popular enough for people to watch it, and for companies like MLG to continue funding it. And then they had the Challenger Series. They brought in the Challenger Series, and MLG couldn't continue to do stuff because they do Dota stuff. So it's like
GG.
there's so many issues here that just need to be fixed. But if we were to go to kind of what they were trying to do then, I think that would be really good. But there's so many. Like the whole you can only have one MOBA thing is kind of bullshit. Like that's the biggest, and Richard's spoken out a lot on this, but it's like that's the biggest bullshit because no tournament organizer is going to give up Dota. They don't want to give up Dota.
Why should
So,
they?
They shouldn't have to. Exactly.
I mean, if I'm gonna organize my tournament, I wish I could have the rights to do whatever I want. Basically, I'm investing my money in there. So let's get to a bit more fun part, right? I decided we should tune off this podcast with style and let's build our optimal changes scene. Starting off with our carry from the League of Legends. James, what's your take on that?
On optimal ways to improve the scene.
No, you shall just build your optimal league.
Oh,
How
put
would
them
you have it
optimally.
structured? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I'd have a total of probably two splits. Like the same system Riot has right now, where they have 2 splits and then World Championships. Just in between the 2 splits and in between World Championships, for the teams that aren't participating in World Championships, there'd be other side leagues where you can just gain circuit points that would give you something to do, and then is some sort of advantage in going into the next split. Like normally, I'd say that advantage would be like a draft position. Like if there was a draft in League of Legends, like similar to NBA, like that'd be kind of cool. But I don't know how to think all of that would work in esports, so screw it. And that would also promote a similar system to come into play in the challenger scene, since that's what everyone's seen in the pro scene. They'll be like, oh, it's weird the challenger series doesn't have as many things to play. Let's give them more. And then everyone will be happy and playing as much games of League of Legends as they want to play, and there will be no 7-month period where you can't play League of Legends even though you're a pro player. And yeah, that's my scene.
Jacob?
Multiple leagues that you can participate that try to avoid conflict of interest. Bigger tournaments throughout the year that are spread out. more funding, bigger companies coming in, and just trying. I think the circuit point thing would work as well. I mean, just honestly promoting as much competition as possible. Maybe end it in a year. Maybe have like 3 delegations a year, or no, that wouldn't work. I don't know. Expansion was like a really good thing for the scene, but I don't think that's ever gonna happen again. Like the expansion tournament was pretty great.
At least not
So,
anytime soon.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty good for what it was there for because it kept challenger players on their toes for a couple months. So
Yeah.
kept them scrimming, but I'm pretty sure that's a one-off deal on Riot's end. So I don't know. Sometimes I guess some league players would play for nothing, but I think the big thing is like I have to make it pro. Like we said earlier in the show, I have to make it into LCS. So if they're just playing to play, like, unless they're being paid high salary by orgs, which is a different story. But that's
Also
all
rare
different.
case.
Yeah, it is a very rare case. So I don't know. It's hard to see it go through properly because a lot of your players are just playing for a good end game. Their whole good end game is let me play professionally in LCS.
So, Colin, what about your Dank Memes League?
My dank memes league. Okay, so if it's going to be a dank memes league, it is going to be the dankest of memes. So I'll ponder this one for a moment. Okay, so every single game begins with this enormous trash talking segment where all the players come on up and they're given a microphone like WWE style. And, it's like, oh, you're positioning shit in fights. We're going to wreck you here, mate, And then they go onto the stage and then, because we're going for the dankest memes, we're going to get rid of anything with competitive integrity, okay? So there's no boost. You can hear the casters coming on in, so you can hear like, oh, this guy's over here. The jungler's coming down here. All right? And you can go ahead and you can interfere with the other players, Your sister teams, okay, everyone has a sister team. The players can, set up binoculars with glasses and be like, oh, that's the island that he's building on over there. You can do in-game substitutions like, okay, you know what? We're going to go ahead. I am substituting in Bjergersen for our mid laner. I was like, wait, what the fuck, mate? And you just get all these sort of slam down things. We go into team deathmatch mode, by the way. There's no more killing the Nexus. It's just team deathmatch. It's he who wins. So, China immediately wins every single professional circuit because they are Lord of Kills. What else is there? Oh, yeah, every game ends with the teams, just like, they shake hands, they, get the respect and support the Shima, and then there's the big after parties, all right? You get your esports babes, you get your finer tastes and luxuries of life so that the next day everybody could show up and they'll be like, oh, my God, my head just hurts. I can't even. Just like, okay, I'll play this one, and then it all begins all over again. Circuit points for everything. You get points for shots. Shots. The parties count for circuit points, by the way. So you bring on the heavy drinkers for these leaguers, guys. You gotta do that. And I don't even. In all seriousness, now, I agree with aspects of James's structure and Jacob's structures. I think it's very good, promoting more tournament scenes, making them interconnected so that they do build up to these grand international tournaments where, Riot can host their world championships. They can have that, but, people could qualify them through a bunch of different leagues. Definitely a staple through every series, best of series, best of ones, best of twos, best of threes. Promoting sister team usages, I think that if we can get to a point where we can fund a main team and a sister team, it can help with the development of talent because then it's like, okay, this organization can pick me up as a player. They're interested in using me. And it also gives teams, in-house scrimming partners to work with as well. Like we saw that work very well for Korean teams back when they had that infrastructure. So, yeah, I'm in much of agreement with Jacob and James as far as structuring goes, with my own couple caveats of sister teams, best of series, and
WWE-esque shit talking.
Yes, we keep the shit talking. That has to.
I'm still hung on how good of an idea that is. Like,
right? Yeah. No.
shit,
and think of how
man.
fun that narrative is. Like,
Get on
it's so hilarious in Korea, and the thing is, like, nobody takes it seriously. Like, if you think that, like, for 1 second that when fucking who was it in SK Telecom? I can't remember who it was. It was like maybe Peekaboo or something. He was just like, yeah, it's the battle of the of the telephone companies, but because SKT moves at this speed, we're gonna beat KT. And then Ryu's just like, really? Whole summoning inside highlight of that shit. Like, it's just hilarious. And it really just, like, adds, like, a whole night scene. And then people can be a lot more brutal and honest in a way, not to be mean with it. But then, like, just think, like, I mean, like, okay, when you think about MSI, and you think about, like, TSM's glorious crashing and burning there, it was only made so much more sweet just based on how much they shit-talk Fnatic going into it. Like, just like, the highlights of Dyrus' vlog, like, I think Fnatic's gonna crash and burn, and then when Fnatic just tilted over the entire tournament with the Cassiopeia top pick, it really added a whole nother flavor to that. It does. It makes it more enjoyable.
That's true.
It really does.
I mean, that's why WF is so lovely.
Oh yeah, that's.
So there's a question to Colin actually. Revolutions again.
Hey.
At CD Mangaka, aka Colin. How would sister teams help with practice on the road when there isn't a place for teams to practice? They're in hotel rooms. Whoa.
Never got face.
Oh, set up a LAN. No, that needs, and you're just like, hey, there really isn't a good answer to that. But as long as you, I mean, having an in-house scrimming partner so that you don't reveal strategies to the enemy team, that's namely the point of the sister team.
It eliminates pulling a beast in. I mean,
yeah,
there's that.
This
But,
would be crucial.
that's my new meme.
But the first, there you go.
Or
But that,
BC.
no, I haven't yet, but I'll look at that. But but before that issue really takes effect, you do have to have like the ability to practice on the go, or like or have a way to set up practicing for those things. I think if the tournament provider provides like a LAN area where teams can set up with their equipment already, kind of like a scrimming housing area, something like that. If teams were to pick up on this, or organizations or sponsors, whatever, were to pick up on this environment we're talking about, where it's okay, we got a bunch of different tournaments going on, I think that in order to support competitive integrity, they should provide the means for teams to have an area to practice in. Like he mentioned before with the NBA example, it's like, yeah, but when they travel, they get gyms to go practice in. I think that that's a next step for sponsors and tournament hosters to begin providing as well.
Shall I also implement my take on this topic?
Oh yeah, of course. We all want to hear your
All
opinion.
right. All right. So first, I'm all up for that trash talk idea.
Yeah.
This is hilarious.
It's great.
No, actually, I would like to implement a 16-man league with a sub-league, like an amateur league with 16 teams as well. So basically, you have a structure that you have 5 starting players and 5 subs. And the situation about the 5 subs, you have actually a second team with you. And you can do the SKT style and swap in your players as you wish in between series, like in normal traditional sports. What you do if some of your football player just can't play anymore for whatever reason, you just sub him in, sub him out actually. So basically, I would like to have more structure, solid league system above all the maybe minor tournaments, and more international tournaments for esports isn't that bad. And more on amateur level scene, if we like take the challenger teams and the other non-Riot related challenger teams, they would really benefit from local regional lands or even international lands a lot more than maybe the LCS teams would do in their busy schedule. So basically, my dream league would be this 2-league system with a IZEA kind of system behind that to provide new talent and more amateur-driven lands around the globe. What do you think about that? Can't work? Yeah, I'm dreaming too much, I guess.
I don't know if putting amateur players against other amateur players from big regions is the best idea, but
No, we can sort out the best from the best, I guess.
I think homegrown talent is the way to go. I just think NA needs to stop being stubborn, because holy fuck, I'm sick of seeing European imports come over here and fail. But
Take my players,
that's-
please.
And fail.
and fail.
And fail.
Waiting for that 6th place Vortex with Corey and Koo, boys. Let's go. And then they flake out, so you know. That's what's
They mesh up again with
But
Coast.
they got impactful, so you know they might just pull it through. Who knows?
All right, so guys, let's come on to an end to our beautiful podcast about Challenger Scene League and all about the lovely esports scene. And I'm sorry for all them smashers in the chat. We'll probably do another podcast only on Smash for you, but it can be today because today it's a different topic. And well, before we sign off, guys, thanks for watching and sticking with us, for everyone that stick with us until the end. And of course, guys, go ahead and take your statements and give your shoutouts to all the people. James, you can start.
Okay. Shout out to my dad, some friends in real life who, like, I'm not gonna mention their names because none of you guys know them. And
Are you sure?
shout out to TDK for, yeah, I'm sure. Shout out to TDK for letting me play with them in LCS recently. Shout out to Frank Fang for being my manager for like the longest period of time while I've been in the Challenger series. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mr. Wolf.
Shoutouts to the Daily Dot for making my esports stream of sitting here and writing every day at an office come true. And shoutouts to Austin, Texas. I'm really excited for DreamHack, and I'm excited to move. So, yeah.
Mr. Colin Goddamn Nyman.
Yeah, that's right. Call me by my name, bitch. Shout outs to Alex for helping let me come onto the show. And as well as for KO and him, I apologize. Shout outs to Jacob for also, like helping me out with my career as much, and to Ryan Tang for giving me a really good head start. Shout outs to all the sites that host my work, and to everyone who supports me, and shout outs to my mother who has a wonderful dinner for me upstairs that I am ready to eat, because goddamn I am hungry.
Sorry for keeping me here so long.
It's fine,
I've
it's
been thinking
fine.
about food for the last like 40 minutes, like legit. I'm just starving over
It's
here.
just like, come on, man. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh, I
3
can't wait.
a.m. at my place and you're bothering about eating.
Yes.
Oh, yep. The European is like, you
Fuck this, I'm
Americans
out.
can't even
Peace
handle
out,
this. Peace out, bitches. And we end it there.